Hey, how are you guys doing? Welcome to another episode of Fridays Are For Friends. I'm here with an amazing singer and songwriter, Ian Elliott. Tell us about your upcoming release, Someone Less Good.
Yeah, so this is my first single as a solo artist. So all my musical background has mostly been like in bands and group acts. And I just wanted to try a solo thing for a while. I really wanted to do a project where my goal was to see what kind of music I would write if I didn't care if anybody liked it. Because I'm from the pop world and people liking it is the only thing that matters. And so, unless you ask like Rick Rubin or something, but I wanted to make songs that what would come out if I didn't care what anybody thought. And so this is the first one coming out. Someone Less Good will be out in about 2 weeks, and I'm super excited about it. I'm kind of nervous. This is sort of like new territory for me as an artist, but I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, being in that new territory, like how does it feel to finally like step out into yourself as an artist?
It's good. It's exciting. It's also there's a documentary on Netflix called Stutz about Jonah Hill and his therapist, and I got mixed feelings about Jonah Hill, but in the documentary, there's a part where Jonah is talking to his therapist, and he says, "I can't tell if this documentary is the best thing I've ever done or the worst thing I've ever done," and the therapist says, "Well, it's probably both, right? And everything will always be both. It'll kind of be good and bad, and not nearly as great or terrible as you think." And so I try to tell myself that like probably the stuff I'm coming out with is fine. It's probably fine. It's probably not anything earth shattering, but also not as horrible as I worry that it will be.
For sure.
And I always worry.
Yeah, I feel like that's just
Yeah.
the artist mentality of like where I know it's funny because I feel like every artist before they press play on a song, like, hey, like,
Caveats.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
like, this is just a demo.
exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, this not mixed yet. I'm gonna add some, choir to this,
Yeah,
or you're
yeah.
like,
It's just a rough take.
yeah, and it's so interesting how we or why we do that. I think it's just because at the end of the day we just care about both the song and also as much as we say we don't care what people think, we do. You
Yeah,
know?
absolutely. I do a lot of work in the film world as well, and every time, like if I'm working with a client, I'll show them something, and I'm always like, yeah, we can do whatever you want. Like, no biggie if you don't like this. In my head, I'm like, please like it, or I might cry. Like, please, I spent 8 hours on this 5 second shot. Like, please like it. And so I think it's inevitable to project your insecurities onto people. But it's funny because, like you said, because on the other side, when you're the listener who's an artist, you have so much sympathy and like empathy for the process, and you understand like, hey, I don't care. I'm just getting like the vibes,
For
right?
sure.
So I haven't figured out a way to stop like doing that. I
Yeah.
still to this day I'm like, oh, it's just a demo, like, or that part's not good. I know that, that sort of thing. It's like if I can punch myself first, you can't punch me,
Yeah,
right? That sort
100%.
of thing.
Yeah, today I was actually showing Andrew part of my project and I said the same thing. I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm going to add a choir here. Like, it's not done yet." And it's
Right.
just like it's yeah.
Everything's always undercooked
Yeah,
when you're
for
presenting
sure,
it.
for
Yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And you talked about you being like in the film world too. How does that cross over to your artistry?
A lot. I got into film very late. So I've done music my whole life. Film I started about 2.5, 3 years ago, and I got into film during the pandemic. But for me, when you read a book, like when you read a fiction book, you're always envisioning what you're reading, and that's why when you go to the movie theater, there's always this gut reaction of whether or not it looks right because you're like, well, I didn't envision this character looking like that. And likewise, when I make music, I see visuals. And I don't think that's unique to me, but like there's always a visual aspect in my mind's eye, and music exists in my mind first, right? And so there is this connection between visual art and audio art that I am not able to divorce. And so it's exciting for me to, like, I'm making my own music video for this song, right? And I've never done that before. And so it's exciting to me to get all these thoughts out of my head onto a microphone, but also onto a camera. And I mean, I think the best part of art is actualizing it, right? And so when it just sits in your head, it's this itch that you can't scratch. And then if you can just make it into the world, into a thing that exists, it's like this relief. It's like, okay, there it is.
For
Even if
sure.
it sucks, it's like, at least it's out, right? It's better to be out and good than great and still in your head.
Yeah, I was That's actually a great point. Talking about perfectionism as an artist and how that can hold you back. How have you been able to, I guess, stray away from that, if any, and just allow yourself to release your music instead of sitting on it because it's not good enough yet? Or how have
Yeah,
you like balanced that?
I find perfectionism to be absolutely crippling, and it's like the curse of most artists. And earlier this year, I read a book called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and I should have read this book 5 years ago, but I just wasn't ready for it. But the whole point of the book is about like just do the thing, right? And to my surprise, what I've found is that the more I am willing to just do the thing instead of wait for it to be perfect, the more the better the response I get from people, because I think what comes out is more authentic. When I'm not trying to make it polished, it's more me because I'm not very polished, like as a human, right? And so the art reflects me better when it's not perfect.
Yeah,
And so I've kind of learned to like embrace the imperfections in it, and like see the proverbial pores of the art that I make, right?
for sure.
Yeah.
And you also have a full-time job as a
Yeah.
chiropractor.
Yeah,
How do
I'm just like
you?
an identity
I
crisis
know.
walking around.
I
Yeah,
didn't want to be the one to say it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
so how do you, I guess, balance all that of now really pursuing artistry full time and being a chiropractor full time? Like, how do you balance that?
Not very good. I don't even know. Like, I'm still on the fence if like work-life balance is a real concept or not, or if that's just like something we say at conferences. But I mean, I spend all day in like Dr. Ian mode. And I'm a chiropractor. I'm a sports chiropractor, and all chiropractors go by their first name. I have no idea why. It's like in the unwritten rule book of chiropractic. So all day I'm Dr. Ian, and I'm asking people questions and taking care of them, and then I get home, and then I'm like artist Ian. And it's interesting because I am in the sports world, which is a very like macho, masculine world, and my art world is very it's more feminine. It's more like most of my artist friends are queer, and it's more like I'm gonna cry in movies, right? And so artist Ian and Dr. Ian are very like dichotomous and kind of, I don't want to say they're separate, but it's very yin and yang for me. So I don't know that I do balance it. I just do it
Yeah,
and hope for the best.
for sure.
But if I don't make time for my art, it's gonna kill the light in my eyes. And so I'm always doing art to like preserve my light.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And speaking about another artistic thing you do is your fashion. Can you talk a little, can you talk a little bit about that
I,
and your TikTok and all of
Yeah,
that?
I think you're more equipped to talk about fashion. You look like you didn't have to think about this outfit, and I spent a week prepping this
It
outfit, and
doesn't
it's
matter,
not
but you
even
pulled
that
off. No,
good.
you pulled it
Not
off. It
even
looks
that good.
great.
After I read that book about not giving a fuck, I had always wanted to do some short form art content because I don't always have time to do long form, and I just get these itches for little bits and things like that, and so I thought it would be fun to start a TikTok. And TikTok was a really great opportunity for me to stop caring about what people thought. Because the first TikTok you make, you film it 20 times, right? And then you put it out, and it's like the last 19 times are not different. And so I put one out about fashion, and it was just me being myself. Like, it was just me being stupid. And I woke up the next day, and it had like 250,000 views. And I was like, oh, this is bad, because not only are so many people seeing me, but they think that I know what I'm doing about fashion, and I have no idea. Like, fashion does not come naturally for me. I just learned about colors like a year ago. Okay, so like fashion's tricky. But what did happen is I started getting some hate comments in the comment section. TikTok notifies you if there's like bullying going on. And so I went and looked at the hate comments, and it was people calling me out on things that were like probably a lot of my biggest insecurities. And it was so freeing to be like, okay, like they already said the thing I was worried they were going to say, and I'm not dead, right? So I guess it's okay. And so then I just started making more. And the craziest thing, and this is true for a lot of artists, is the less I cared about it and just was true to who I was, the better it did. And I think there's some people can just pick up on like authentic vibes. I think in a world where everything is not real, we just crave real stuff. So I don't know how long my TikTok career is going to last. But we're just gonna have some fun with it. Yeah,
For sure,
just me
yeah.
being silly.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
man. And switching back over to music, if there's one person that you could write with, who would that be, and what type of song would you want to make with them?
It would probably be, I think right now it would be Hosier. Hosier is like, he's like one of my idols. The way he writes, the way he sings, Hosier is like who I wish I could be and never will be, right? And so I love the way he writes lyrics. The way he writes lyrics was really influential for me. I come from like a deeply religious background, and when I stepped away from practicing, I had decades of like scriptural knowledge that felt like I couldn't use it anymore, right? And it just felt like it was kind of a waste. And then I listened to Hosier, and Hosier uses scripture and he uses mythology and poetry, but he'll rebrand it, he'll reframe it into something that's romantic or sexual or human, right? And so Hosier kind of taught me, like, here's what you do with all that, right? Here's how you can make it cool. And also just the music. My musical background is mostly in singer-songwriter folk and like soul and rock. And so Hosier does all that. I didn't think you could have those two genres on an album until I heard him do it. And I was like, oh, he's doing it. Like maybe you can do it. I just didn't have the courage to try it. So I don't know what it would sound like. It'd probably sound worse than a Hosier song if I was involved with it, but it would be the best Ian Elliott song of all time.
Yeah.
I have no doubt. So we can't let that happen.
No, I definitely
Yeah.
will, and it will be great.
Yeah.
And going like back to your songwriting, how has it, I guess, evolved throughout the years?
It's evolved a ton. My first song that I ever wrote when I was, I don't know, 15, I think I would rather die than you hear it. It was brutal. But you don't have any like life experience, right? You're just like writing about theory. Whereas now I'm writing about practice, right? I do have some life experience. I have been through a couple of hard things. And the way that I write musically hasn't changed a ton. There's always been soulful elements and whatnot, but the way that I write lyrics has changed dramatically. The things that I talk about, the things that I'm willing to say now. I have songs that have words in them now I have to warn my mom about, and let her know before it comes out. But I did a house show a couple months ago, and it was just a chance for me to test out songs. I used to do open mics to test out songs and just see which ones suck and which ones suck less. And so I did a house show, and I played a few songs that were in a more authentic style than I had ever done lyrically. They were saying things about me that I usually only tell my therapist. And I had multiple people come afterwards and be like, "Hey, that song, like I cried when you played that song."
Wow.
Or this song, which I thought was just a silly song, they were like, "Hey, I got tears when I heard that one." And so, again, just this whole year for me has been just reinforcing like courage to be more authentic,
Yeah.
and just honest.
When I listen to your music, it does feel that way though. Like
Oh, you're very kind.
yeah, and I just honestly, man, like this recent song, I understand why people felt the way that they felt when listening, because especially like when the chorus comes, it just feels like it's this constant push and pull,
Sure.
and you get that release in the chorus, which feels like it feels great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
of
I wanted to
course.
write something that felt big and small.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
And coming to the end of the year, what's your favorite or top album this year?
Oh man, a lot of albums. Let's see. This year we've had Cowboy Carter from Beyonce. What do we have? We've had Brat from Charlie XCX. I have a couple. There's a British rapper named Lil Sims, a female rapper who I just love. She came out with an EP that I loved, and then Bon Iver just came out with an EP. And Hosier had an EP. I'll throw him in too. But I mean, Cowboy Carter and Brat, I think, sort of stole the show
For sure.
this year, so I have to give it to them.
Yeah, and do you have any upcoming projects that you want to talk about at all?
Yeah, so this song, Someone Less Good, comes out mid-November, as well as the music video, which I'm really excited about. I'm working on the album right now, so it's about 60% done. So I'm hoping next year the album will be out. But in the meantime, just this little guy.
Amazing,
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And the last thing I want to ask is, what do you enjoy most about live performances?
Oh, good question. I've often thought, like, if gun to my head, if I had to choose live performance versus all my music simply existing in a studio, which would I choose? And I'd always choose live performance. I have like horrible anxiety all the time. Like I'm nervous right now. And so every time I'm about to walk on stage, there's always like the 3 minutes before I get on stage where I'm like, why do I do this? Like I feel like I'm going to either piss myself or black out or both. And then I get on stage, and after about a song, I kind of calm down. And there's something just so exhilarating about the chance that you might crush it, right? And I've bombed a lot on stage, but when you crush it, there's no better feeling. As soon as you step off, you're like, I can't wait to do that again. And there's something about the best part of like expressing love is seeing it be received. And with live music, you get to see your art that you put love into like be received. And even if it's not received well, at least you get to see it be received. Whereas in a studio or outside of live, it's all sort of ethereal. There's like an element of human connection with live music that I don't get elsewhere.
Yeah, and I feel like when you're able to bring in that live instrumentation into the songs that you put out, I think people can feel that too. You know. What I
Yeah.
mean? And there's something about live instruments just being in songs that it just feels so much different. There's a different energy about it, different feel.
There's an untangible like X factor about live music that I think most people have had the experience where they have a song from an artist they don't really care about, and then they see it live, and then they love the song after that. And I don't know why that happens, but everyone has had that happen. And there's just something about live music that's just a different art form.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And the last thing we always have artists do are plug yourself. So if you can look into that camera and just tell the audience where to find you, that would be amazing.
Yeah, you can look me up on Instagram, The Real Ian Elliott, and I'll be coming out with my single Someone Less Good mid-November, and then hopefully an album next year. Or you can find me on TikTok as Ian3Snacks. But go to Instagram first.
Well, thank you guys so much for tuning into another amazing episode of Fridays Are For Frnds. Peace.
I'm Ian Elliott. Thanks for tuning in to Fridays Are For Frnds.